Ever feel like you're meant for more, but something keeps holding you back? You got big dreams, big ideas, but instead of moving forward, you're stuck in overthinking mode. Sound familiar? What if you had a proven blueprint to break through fear, ditch self-doubt, and create the success you actually deserve? I'm Ricky Locke, a certified Canfield trainer in the Success Principles trained by Jack Canfield himself, and I'm here to help you finally get unstuck. Join me for an exclusive high-energy webinar where I'll teach 3 powerful success strategies that top performers use to take action, build confidence, and unlock their full potential. No more waiting for the perfect time, no more feeling lost on what to do next, and no more second-guessing if you're capable. Spoiler, you are. But this isn't just another webinar, it's a roadmap to real results, practical, actionable, and guaranteed to shift your mindset from stuck to unstoppable. Be the first to know when it's live. Head to www.rickylock.com/workshops and sign up today. And now, sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode.
And I think that's the dangerous part for a lot of people is they get used to it. They get used to being on 6 hours of sleep. And I think there's a culture, especially in other countries like America, and that's a very hardworking culture. You wear that as a badge of honor, and it can be I'll sleep when I'm dead. But that sleeping when dead can happen a lot quicker
very soon
if you are sleep deprived for a period of time.
Ryan, 1 in 5 of people are not getting enough sleep, and 7.5 million of the UK get less than 5 hours sleep a night. So obviously we're not getting our sleep, and sleep is often overlooked in discussions about high performance, which is why we want to talk to you today. And because this podcast is about how to unlock the best version of ourselves, why is sleep so crucial for unlocking our full potential?
Where do you start? I mean, if you look at even just as a high performing individual making better decisions, I think one of the things that I referenced in a talk that we did was, if you imagine that you only retain 60% of what you do on a daily basis, how would that impact your life? And that's not just a hypothetical scenario either, because there was a bit of research done by a guy called Matt Walker, who is very famous in the sleep community. And what he showed was that there was people who were getting less than 6 hours of sleep a night versus people that were actually getting over the 8 were retaining 40% more information than those people that were sleeping less. So our ability to make better decisions, when we can make better judgments, all of those things are massively impacted when we don't get enough sleep, because we can think more clearly, we can focus more. All of those things, I would say, are absolutely crucial for anybody that is looking to perform at that level. Outside of that as well, if you look at the productivity costs, not just to the UK economy, but to those individuals as well, it's crazy. It's absolutely massive. Sleep deprivation costs the UK economy around £40 billion every single year. But that's around £40 billion every single year. And that's about 1.86% of the country's total GDP.
Why is it that much then? Why is that? Just because of people being sick, overwhelmed, burnt out, not getting enough sleep?
It's that this study looked at a pool of people, and they had a load of metrics that was defining what was a productivity loss. And what they found was that the individual that is basically getting less than 6 hours of sleep per night versus the person that's getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night is losing about 6 working days a year, whether that's to absenteeism, whether that's to illness, whether that's to just working a little bit and not getting as much done in the time versus that other person. And that's only 6 days per year. If you are the person that is the leader in that business and you are managing a team of, say, 10 people, or even if you're in an organization where there is 250 staff, that really, really adds up. And I would say as well, a lot of startup businesses, if you've got yourself and maybe somebody else and you are doing everything at the moment, that massively impact what you can get done in the time, because time is one of our most valuable assets. And if you are trying to work harder, but your body's simply not letting you because you are so sleep deprived, that can be it can have an impact on your business success as well. Yes, sleep has a massive impact on our productivity levels UK wide and also just as an individual. It also has a massive impact on our creativity. When you get enough sleep, your ability to form those creative connections are enhanced. Once you aren't sleeping properly, it can very quickly become sat there trying to think about something, your mind's not letting you do it. Sleep can have a massive impact on that as well. One of the most profound effects is definitely the health. If you look at people that are sleeping, I think it's less than 6 hours a night, they are 13% more likely to die prematurely than people that were getting somewhere between that 7 and 9 hours of sleep.
Jeez.
It's absolutely crazy. And I don't think people realise the impact on our health. And I always leave that point to the last because there's so many things. And again, listening to Matt Walker, one of the things that he was finding was that if you look at when the clocks go back and we lose an hour of sleep, there is a 24% increase in heart attacks that following Monday. Now, if you look at when the clocks...
Jesus Christ, 24%?
Yeah.
Because the clocks are going back. Wow. Because people are just staying up, being more productive, trying to be, or...
I think it's more because, and we'll touch on this in a second, but when you're moving your body clock, that is not good, basically. So if we are moving that because we are trying to gain an hour here, lose an hour there, it's not good for what our bodies naturally want to do. And that's that circadian rhythm thing that we'll touch on in a little bit. But I mean, just to kind of like round off the health benefits as well. If you look at Arianna Huffington, who founder of the Huffington Post, out of her lack of sleep and the risk to her health, she actually created a company called Thrive Global, which is now one of the leading companies in the world for corporate wellbeing, corporate fitness, however you want to call that. When she was running the Huffington Post, she was working about 18 hours a day. And one day she decided to work from home and she was checking her emails. Next thing she knew is that she basically passed out, woke up in a pool of blood. She got a broken cheekbone and she'd had a load of tests around that time. The doctors had just simply come to the conclusion that she was exhausted. But if you think 18 hours a day, right, okay, so if she's working 18 hours a day, where's the time for sleep? Where's the time for eating? Where's the time for herself? And you can only do that for so long before something gives. And, for her, that really was her turning point. The positive is that she's created an absolutely fantastic company.
And there's a real counter thing with this one as well, Ryan, because, I mean, like we're both business owners, entrepreneurs. A few years ago, and not to slag him off at all, but I'm a big fan of his work, Gary V, and his kind of culture that kind of was enforced in the world was crush it, and just work, which is just, I mean, there are people out there that will absolutely smash that, like Arianna, 18 hours a day. But as you said, it's going to come to a point where something's going to give. So there's a misconception of this, surely. I mean, what's your thoughts on this with the whole crush it culture, work, hustle. You must get pissed off hearing that from your side of the business, right? Yeah. What's your thoughts about this?
It's difficult because I think like you say, as a business owner, you have to do it all. So you very quickly get used to working longer hours than most people. But I would say that you don't actually realise the impacts that the lack of sleep or the stress is actually having on you until it kind of gets to that point. And you hear so many stories of people that burn out, that collapse like Arianna Huffington, and you don't see it coming. That's the most dangerous part for a lot of people, is they get used to it. They get used to being on 6 hours of sleep. The amount of people that we speak to and they're not getting enough sleep. And I think there's a culture especially in this country, especially in other countries like America. I think Gary Vee, he was Russian as well, and that's a very hard-working culture. You wear that as a badge of honor, and it can be that I'll sleep when I'm dead. But sleeping when dead can happen a lot quicker
very soon.
If you are sleep deprived for a period of time. So I think for people that think they can push through, taking that one step back to go 20 forward is definitely where prioritizing your sleep and prioritizing yourself comes in, because your sleep, your health, you're the foundation of you bringing your best work into absolutely everything. If you want to be better in your business, you have to prioritize yourself, your sleep, your health, your nutrition, your stress management, all of those things. If you want to bring your best to your family life outside of your business, you have to have the energy to be able to do those things. And your energy comes from sleeping, nutrition, exercise, all of those things that we go through and obviously we speak about as well. So it's coming away from that and being okay with the fact that, I am going to take that nap at this time so that I can be better here.
Yeah. You know what? Here's a great example of this. Like probably 10 years ago, I'm a millennial. So, grew up in the internet age. I would spend hours and hours, playing my games, on my computer, working 2 hours. And that was fine as a kid, right? Teenager, because my circadian rhythm, which we'll talk about, wasn't matured yet. Hormones are kicking in and all that, right? Very soon, quickly, I've realised that can't happen anymore. I can't stay up late night. The other night, been on holiday and thought, great, I'm going to just got a bit of free time. My wife was putting Alma to bed. I'm going to just check my emails. I had 70 emails. Thought, great, let's do it. Then I start getting into that, oh God, I'm getting very hyper-focused. Let's do it. And I look at my watch and it's like 12:30 and I go, oh, crap. And I knew that the next day I had to be daddy day because I have to Alma on a Monday, and it made me groggy as anything. When I weighed myself as well for fitness, I'd obviously not had anything too heavy, because the night before on the Saturday I had a massive big takeaway, quite carby. I felt still bloated because, again, I've not given my body enough rest for digestion, and I just felt utterly shit. and the worst thing to feel is when you've got like a screaming tantrum 2-year-old and you feel like shit, then it kind of has a ripple effect. So let's just talk a little bit about this because, okay, so we can't understand from Arian Huffington and all these things that it's very important. So what's actually happening, Ryan, when I sleep? And yes, I need to get the average between 7 to 9 hours, roughly.
Yeah,
7 to 9 hours.
Yeah, that's what the science will say. Yeah,
that's what the science says. So what's actually happening when I'm sleeping? Because to me, like, let's go like devil's advocate. I don't need to sleep, right? I'm a hustler. I'm going to work till night, right? I know that obviously that's not good, but what's actually happening in my body and my mind, I guess, when I sleep?
Well, when throughout the day we build up these things called beta amyloid, which it's just a metabolic byproduct. Now, when we sleep, we flush that out. We flush it out, and it's almost like if you imagine a night when you've not had good sleep, and then that probably has been another night of not sleeping, you'll notice this kind of like headache along here. And that's a couple of things. It's a buildup of the beta amyloid, but it's also a buildup of these things called adenosine. And I'll touch on that in a second. But in the most simplest form, when you're sleeping, you're resting, you are recovering, you are able to flush out all those things that build up in our bodies, so that you can wake up with the energy level, feeling rested, feeling rejuvenated, so that you can have the energy level to do all of those things that need to happen in a day. Going through every single part of that sleep cycle allows those things to happen as well. It can decrease your risk of injury as well. The amount of times when we've worked with somebody and their sleep's been poor and then they're wondering why the back's going or the knee's going, it's really just the foundation of your recovery and your health. Being able to flush out that beta amyloid is really, really important, because there is a link between the beta amyloid, which becomes plaque if it's not flushed out, and Alzheimer's disease as well. So
you mentioned this when I first met you both. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is a huge link for people developing, because of that's scary. That really scary, because I'm not thinking about that right now, right? As a middle 35, level 35, I'm not thinking about that now, but compounding over time, the lack of sleep, when I want to retire and enjoy my life, could be massively impacted because of that sleep. That's scary.
It really is. And it's when we work with somebody, the things compound and they get to that point and they're like, oh shit. Now that there might be something looming on the horizon, maybe it's a health scare, maybe they've seen what their parents have gone through. And sleep can be an amplifier for those things. It's not just about maybe overeating or, not doing exercise, but if your sleep's not right, which I would say for a huge amount of the UK population, those health concerns can be amplified and can speed up. So sleep really it's the foundation of, your health. When you sleep enough, you recover, which means you can wake up feeling restored, which means then you can bring your best to the next day, the next day, the next day.
That's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, when you're saying that, I'm thinking of like a metaphor here of like, your teeth, brushing your teeth, right? We all learn to brush your teeth in the morning, brush your teeth at night, because all the sugar and all the crap we have builds up plaque, right? But we brush our teeth to keep our teeth clean. But we do not get told that at school or anything in life, do we? Because it's the same principle, isn't it? Why are we not putting that same focus towards our sleep? Because, I'm going to brush your teeth so they're clean the next day. Okay. Well, let's do the same thing for our sleep. Make sure that we're rested, recovered, and get rid of all that plaque from the build-up of the day. That's really scary, isn't it? Wow. Yeah.
And it's a really good analogy, that, and it's not something I've ever thought about myself. But if you think about your tooth health throughout the course of, say, the 20 years, if you don't brush your teeth, you can't undo what's happened from the day before. You've forgotten to brush your teeth. There's probably going to be some decay that's happened, whatever. And your sleep is exactly the same. We accrue this thing called sleep debt when we don't get enough sleep. You can't get that sleep debt. You can't get the sleep back. It's gone. It's happened. You can do your best to make sure the next night's good, but that's almost like it might be quite strong, but it's a nail in the coffin. What happens when you've accrued the sleep debt is, yes, you might spend longer in the deep sleep, which is the thing that helps you to feel rested and restored. But you still, that day where you've had 3 hours less sleep has still happened. You can't do anything about that. So it really is important to 95% of the time have those habits in place that go, I'm going to get enough sleep per day to optimize my health.
Totally. It's just like me with that example the other night, me feeling like it's going to be a productive night, 12:30 means the next day I'm great. But actually, I should have just gone to bed, had at least good, 7 or 8 hours, wake up early, feeling refreshed, maybe do some exercise, get some sunlight, and then start. And I could have done it in the morning feeling a lot refreshed, but I didn't. So this is really important. So we need to talk about this then, the whole circadian rhythm, because that, as you've mentioned before, has a massive impact into, you mentioned our body clocks and obviously just functionality for sleep. So let's just talk about it. So let's imagine devil's advocate. I'm a dummy, right? And the listeners, let's say they've never heard of this circadian rhythm. What are we on about, Ryan and Ricky? Tell us about this circadian rhythm and how can we align it better to improve our sleep?
Well, it's basically your body's internal clock. It's what your body wants to do at different points in the day, and we've all got one. It's a product of thousands of years of evolutions. It's when you want to produce hormones. It's when you're going to feel awake. It's when you're going to feel sleepy. It's all of those things that happen to us throughout the day. They're primarily affected by light and dark, day and night. I think probably one of the best examples really is if we imagine that, if you think about the modern day challenges of most of us that probably get up in the mornings and the first thing we do when we wake up is we check our phones. Okay, right. And then we're within half an hour, we've probably had our first coffee. We've probably not had any sunlight because we're living in the UK and it's fairly dark most of the time in the mornings.
Until next week, hopefully, when the clocks go forward.
Until next week, And then if you think about that day, we've woken up, we've been on a phone, we've probably had our first coffee, we've had breakfast, and we might be already on the way to work or we're on the train checking emails. And then we're getting that all day. And then we come home, and for business owners as well, those lines between work and personal life are completely blurred. You take the work home, like you said, you work until 12 at night, and it's attention. And we need to be able to switch off from that because we haven't evolved to live with those modern day challenges. It's an overly simple example, but if you think about the modern day challenges for most people, if you think about somebody that lives on an island, and if they're on that island, they don't have a phone, they don't have any technology, and they're just going to live in touch with nature. And you would wake up with the sunrise. You probably wake up to the sunrise with probably the birds or maybe like the crashing waves. And you're going to go to the toilet and you're starting your day in a more natural way. You're not rushing out the door with a coffee before you've even, had chance to kind of come around, and you're not responding to emails. And it's the same when it comes to the evening as well. As soon as it starts to get the sunset, if you was on your island, you're probably just going to look up at the stars. You're probably going to have a campfire, have something to eat, and then you're just going to doze off in a really natural way. And I think the point I'm making about our circadian rhythm is it's this thing that happened 200,000 years ago when we was tribal hunters and gatherers, and we've tried to come away from it with artificial light, emails at all hours, all of those things, and we can't cope with it as human beings. So if we can better align to this circadian rhythm, and it doesn't need to be stupidly complex, we can improve the quality of our recovery and of the quality of our sleep as well.
That's a really interesting point there, that we all want to sleep, we all want to improve our sleep, but this modern world that we are in is not built for that. And I was just thinking about the example, people working in London. I mean, you go on a tube, right, and no one talks to each other because they're just all on their phones like this, right? I did see something as well about apparently evolution. One day people will be hunched like this because we're just looking at our phones. We'll have like claw-like fingers because of how big the iPhone will be, and you have to stretch your fingers. You're in dark tunnels, you're in offices, especially in the UK, dark mornings, commuting, dark night. You don't get to see a lot of light at all, do you? And that's a massive thing. So that's really scary. So this modern world is not built for this circadian rhythm. However, but there are things, isn't there, that we can do to help better align. And one thing that, I'm not going to spoil it because you told me when I saw you speak, and I was like, oh, right, okay. Now my wife takes a piss out of me this now, because when it's time for me to wake up, she goes, Rick, curtains are open, get some sunlight in your eyes. I'm like, fuck off.
That's it.
Yes, well, So let's talk about some of these strategies, how we can better align this, because yes, the modern world is going to continue, right? We know that. We're all probably addicted to dopamine things to our phones, but there are habits and some strategies we can do. So tell us a little bit about these common strategies to better align our circadian rhythm.
Yeah. And honestly, a lot of the things that we speak about, a lot of the things that people aren't doing, they're not rocket science. They're things that we've come away from in this modern day world and got used to. Align better to your circadian rhythm, you've touched on it as well, Ricky, is the first thing in the morning is just open the curtains, get some sunlight into your eyes. When you are sleeping, we are producing the sleepy hormone melatonin, which happens when we're in darkness. And that's just, it helps you to sleep. As soon as you wake up in the mornings, if you open the curtains, get some daylight into your eye, the daylight is blue light. The blue light produces the hormone serotonin, which makes you feel awake and alert. And I personally get up at about 4:30 in the morning. I very rarely am waking up with sunlight. There is a small window in summer for about a month where we've got 4:15 in the morning sunrise, and I'm like absolutely buzzing. When that happens, speaking from somebody that probably spends 9.5 months in darkness first thing in the morning, that month where I am in sunlight is absolutely incredible. Your mood, your energy levels, it is honestly one of the most perfect ways you can start your day. To take that one step further as well, as soon as you've woken up, you've opened your curtains, if you are then thinking about having breakfast, at an absolute minimum, have it near a window so that we're getting some of the light into our eyes.
Nice,
I would say get outside, have your coffee outside, have your breakfast outside, and just start your day in a more natural way. So the sunlight is a super powerful thing.
I was just going to say, sorry, is there something I read, and I don't know if this is related or not, but I heard something about, I don't know what the link is to our bodies or not, about getting your feet on grass. Something about, is it a neutral reading or whatever it is?
We've tried it. I'll probably end up butchering the science a little bit, but it's this thing called like grounding. And it's meant to be around kind of like the magnetic pull of the earth, and then this produces X, Y, and Z benefits. I'm not too sure what the benefits are, but Nick did it, and he was having his protein shake off the back of training outside, completely on soil, and he said he felt different. He felt better for it. So I think for anybody that's thinking of doing that, give it a go and just try it. It feels a little bit hippy dippy woo woo, but just give it a try.
Give it a try. Well, just to go back on one thing as well, obviously there'll be people listening to this that goes, I get that, Ryan, but it's like winter when I'm listening to this, so there's no sunlight. So what do you do if you wake up at 4:30, pitch black, it's January? What are you doing there if you can't get sunlight in your eyes at 4:30?
So I have a different alarm clock, and rather than you think about most people that wake up and it's the loud iPhone alarm that makes you gives you and your partner a heart attack, or you snooze it and then it's like fuck off. Getting it's this thing called a dawn wake simulator. It's a different alarm clock, and it's a mini sunrise in your bedroom. Yep.
Love it.
So I would say getting one of those is really, really important if you are somebody like me that can't get sunlight first thing in the morning. And it's not, the absolute best for us, but just having some artificial light coming in, because it's better than nothing. So if you are unable to get sunlight straight away, when you're having your breakfast, have the living room light on, the dining room light on, so that you're getting something.
Right, nice. That's interesting. Yeah, I've got one of these, bought one a couple of years ago, and it's lovely. So for the listeners out there who don't know what these are, mine's it's like an egg, like a stretched egg kind of shape. One, and I'll set my alarm, and then the light it gradually comes on whilst I'm sleeping, from like a low yellowy light to then like a sunlight, and then at the time it's to set off, it's like this really nice sunshine light, and it really does. I remember when I first used it, I went, wow, I feel so different waking up instead of the, like you said, the heart attack card, the alarm going off. A top tip as well, I also will put my phone, when I can, in the other room. So obviously then I have to use the Lumi alarm clock, so that goes off. But I love that. So anything else that we can do there? So I'm going to open up the curtains. If it's not obviously summer or like spring, I might have to just use a Lumi clock or dining room light. So I've opened the light. What else would be next step? What about my phone? Because first thing I want to do is I want to check and see who's been liking my Instagram posts or who's been watching my YouTube videos, So what about my phone? Is that like a key aspect in the morning?
Yeah, I would personally say for most people, not going on your phone for the first 30 minutes. When you have just woken up, you're not in a state that's ready to take on, say, a complex task. I don't know if anybody that's listened to this has ever been in a situation like this before. I know I have. I've woken up, I've gone on my phone, and I replied to somebody. I've thought about that about 30, 40 minutes later and gone, why on earth did I say that? And you're not ready for that at that point. So if you can give yourself a window where you go, I'm not going to go on my phone for the first 30 minutes, and I'm going to give myself that time to come round, that can be really, really impactful as well. One thing that helps to get your mind into gear is just listen to some music, listen to a podcast, just something that starts to turn you on, ready for those more complex tasks that we take on later on in the day as well.
Love that. And for the listeners out there, there's a good podcast called Unlocked, if you want to listen to that one as well. A little plug there. So just to recap on that point as well, because if we just scoot back to, let's go to the night before, right? Great, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to go do this tomorrow. All the the listeners go do this tomorrow, we're going to either have a looming clock or, not use the alarm clock. We'll get waken up, we'll open the curtains, we'll get some sunlight, try and go outside, not look at our phone for the first bit. Let's just recap a bit then to the night before, because then, I want to get into the right routine. And so what would be top tips then getting to sleep? Because I'm wired up, I'm this busy entrepreneur. I'm thinking about countless, all these things, as well as, life, mental health, my daughter, prepping her for nursery. How do I rest and get myself into a state that I can naturally fall asleep rather than on my phone?
Yeah, that's it. And it is the one thing that's come through more and more over this last month for us is you need to set clear boundaries, because if you don't have the yes and the no in place, then all the rest of the things can't happen, because you're not going to bring yourself to the best. You're not going to bring your best to everything else. You're absolutely right. The circadian rhythm isn't just what you do when you wake up. It's also how do you set yourself up for success so you can get a good night's sleep? What can you do to make sure the quality of that is really good? There's a million and one things. I'll probably just riff loads of them off. Don't eat too close to bed. Give yourself 3 or 4 hours, because if you're having a massive meal before you plan to go to sleep, your body's just going to be interested in trying to get that digested, and that isn't going to help you sleep.
So is that 3 or 4 hours before you go to bed? Stop eating. Okay, cool. So no snacks on the sofa watching Netflix. Okay, nothing.
Yeah, and everybody's going to be different. It's what we found to work and what we found to work with other clients as well. You might be okay with 2 hours, but we need to test it. I would say 3 hours for most people is great. If you can do it a little bit earlier, then great. If you can do it later, great. But you need to test that for yourself, because like I say, everybody's really different. When it comes to bedroom, they have become this multifunctional entertainment center for a lot of people. You've got TVs, you've got laptops, you've got what is it? And the purpose of a bedroom is quite simply to sleep. It's nothing else. People even take this one step further, and they have a room where they would actually have sex with a partner and then come back in, because the bed is for sleeping and that's it.
Wow.
So, so thinking about the bedroom, it needs to be cool.
So I was just going to say, I totally, when we moved into this house, first question I said is, where's the telly? There's no telly. We have a cupboard that's in front of the bed. And my wife's like, well, we're not going to have one then. I went, what? And actually, I do substitute it for my phone, but it does help actually. But anyway, so let's talk about this temperature then. It has to be cool?
Has to be cool. We need to start thinking about the bedroom as a bit of a sanctuary. It needs to be cool, it needs to be dark, it needs to be quiet. The most optimal temperature we want to be looking for is about 18 degrees. To make that happen, you could take it to one step further and go, I'm going to get a thermometer and I'm going to track 18 degrees for the people that are really, really interested in being at the optimal level. For most people, they're going to know when they're too hot, they're going to know when they're too cold. So I would say if it's cold, keep the window shut, have more layers on. The other thing you can do is you can have a warm shower before you plan to sleep, which can raise your body temperature, helps you to fall off to sleep. I do this and it is so powerful, especially when you've been out networking late at night or you've been having a business meeting, because it's almost like washing away the day as well. And on the flip side, if it is warm, window on the latch, less layers, have a cold shower. All those things can help to get you set up for success, a successful night of sleep. When it comes to quiet, what I personally use and what we recommend to clients is getting some earplugs. Now I've been using I've actually got some here. These are what I use, literally just them.
Brilliant.
And
so just hold that up again, Ryan. Hold that up again. So for viewers watching this on our YouTube channel, you can see them. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So what are they? What brand are they?
I don't know what the brand's called. But if you was to literally search on Amazon earplugs, you'll see the yellow ones, and they're in like a blue and yellow casing. And you get about 50, 60, 70 of them for £7. That can help to take away the noise, because the last thing you want is being woke up by your snoring partner or, the birds outside or police car, whatever it might be. So that really is you optimizing that environment for making it cool, making it dark, making it quiet, and having separation. So the bedroom is for sleeping, nothing else. So realistically, what do we actually need in there? Okay, so it's not a TV. It's not even, if you really want to take it a step further, no artwork on the wall, because that can keep the mind busy. There's no anything. It's just a bed with the absolute minimums.
Yeah, interesting. And I was reading something up about this, about how my wife has mentioned this now, like we're coming up to the point where we need to change our mattress, because the mattress has a massive impact on it as well, doesn't it? Is it something like every 8 years or something? I don't know, or something? Because you can flip it up,
really
can't you?
interesting.
I think you can flip them over halfway through its time.
Yeah. I don't know if we went through this particular bit when we was doing the talk, but we go through this, and a lot of the mattress companies will say you need to change your mattress every 8 years, you need to have this kind of mattress, you need the most pocket springs, you need this one, it's £2,000. It's like, right, okay, what mattress do I actually need? And it's different for every single person. If you typed in, there's a way that you can measure the right mattress for you, and it involves getting into the fetal position and making sure that your spine is completely neutral. So neutral alignment, so just completely straight when you're sleeping. That's how you know the mattress is right for you. You know, when you see people that have got 3 or 4 pillows and then you're looking at the spine going, it's like it's curved like this because they've got so many pillows. That's no good. So the best mattress is one that means that you're completely straight throughout the whole of the night. So that could be a £400 mattress. It could be a £4,000 mattress. You just need to test it. In terms of how
funny,
often
Ryan,
it is.
I think about babies when they sleep.
Yeah.
They, when they're, a couple months old, they don't have a pillow because they're not allowed to anyway, just for suffocation, but they just lay flat, or there's less pillow there as well, which makes sense, doesn't it? And babies get the best sleep ever, even though I think they haven't developed their circadian rhythm yet, have they? It takes a little while for it to mature, doesn't it? But that's why they're so...
It goes different, yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. I think I saw this on one of your YouTube videos, and you were so right about this. We will spend between 40, 50... 60k on a brand new car. New Tesla comes out. Wow, I want that car, but we'll spend 100 quid, 200 quid on a cheap, shitty mattress. And then we complain.
On the thing that makes you live longer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When actually we should be investing more into mattresses, because the car's going to do nothing. It's going to be comfy, get you faster places, but you can't sleep in your car much. So, okay, so we need to invest in a mattress, then a good one. It's going to align with our spine in a neutral position. Cool. Yeah, brilliant.
And knowing when to change that, I think is really important, because a lot of people will say, it's every 8 years. It might not be. It might be longer. It might be shorter. As soon as you're no longer in that position, that's when you know you need to change it.
Brilliant. Okay, so we briefly touched about food. So I'm going to have like 2 or 3 hours as well. So the other thing, now I am a dad, right? Have you got kids, Ryan?
I have not.
You have not? Okay. You're living the dream then. Yay. Literally living the dream. There you go. There's the pun, isn't it?
It sounds like dreaming. When I talk to people.
Yeah, you are living the dream. So obviously, as parents, and I fell into this trap last year. I mentioned this on another episode, where in January 2022, I went to hospital with these severe headaches that lasted for like 3 or 4 days. Worst migraine feeling I ever felt. And I developed a cluster headache, which the doctors call suicide headaches, which is like the worst medical pain you can ever face. He literally said to me, stay off the caffeine for a couple of days.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And I stopped drinking Coca-Cola from that point, because I was having quite a lot at that time. The vicious cycle of this, right? I'm a parent, I'm tired, so I'll drink caffeine to stay awake. What happened was I almost developed what I thought was like a stroke. It was so bad that this side of the face went really numb, and I developed Bell's palsy in this side of the face. I didn't get any droopiness, but the whole side of it went numb. Couldn't eat. Well, when I ate, I couldn't feel anything. Very scary, which led me to then my personal transformation to go through personal training, right? But let's talk about this caffeine idea, because first thing we do, we'll get a coffee in the morning. But throughout the day, we've seen this, right? Afternoons, the sugar crash, coming back from lunch, might get a coffee, or I might get a can of Monster energy drink because I need to get through these next couple of hours at work or through the business. Let's talk about caffeine. When should I stop drinking, or should I carry on drinking? What if I drink at like 9 o'clock at night before I go to bed? What's going to happen?
For 99.9% of the population, they need to have a caffeine cutoff, because caffeine has a half-life of around 5 hours. So what that basically means is whatever you have now, half of the amount will still be in your system 5 hours later. So if you was having coffee at say 2 in the afternoon, fast forward to 7 at night, you've still got half of that caffeine in your system. And I know how I feel when I've had caffeine. You are awake, you're alert, it can reduce your fatigue, you can be more productive. You don't want to be getting into bed with your mind running that marathon. It's ready to go in any moment. You need to come away from it. So we always recommend for most people, and again, we need to test it no later than midday for most people. That gives them enough time to get it out of their system. You've got the non-responders to caffeine, people that it doesn't matter what time they have it, they'll sleep great. And that is a very, very small percentage of people. But for most people, I had a very similar conversation this morning. And I said, I'm doing this podcast. And he's like, I really need to get some sleep. What do you recommend? And we got to caffeine, and he's really good with his coffee. He has that in the day. And then he has decaf, which can, obviously there's no caffeine there, or a very small amount. But he's having chocolate, and people don't realize that. He's having chocolate at 7 at night. And it's like, okay, so how much chocolate are you having? Right, I'm having that much. There's that much caffeine in it. So 5 hours later, 1 in the morning, you've still got that much caffeine in your system. So that has a massive impact on our sleep for sure.
So I may well be part of that 1% population. So last night I went to the gym. My wife did parenting. Yay. So she put my daughter away. So I was like, right, I'm going to go to the gym because tough day. Because of, like I said, I was up until 12:30. So I was absolutely shattered. So I thought, I'm going to go to the gym because that's going to make me feel good. I'm going to get rid of all that stress, get rid of some cortisol, all that. Now, I had an energy drink at 7:30 at night, but I used it as a way to like get me through, because I was doing some real heavy lifting. So it got me through. But I went to bed last night about 10 o'clock, woke up this morning at 6:30, beautiful sleep. We obviously went to bed early because we're parents now, right? But I'm really focusing on practicing on doing this from obviously listening to your talk. But I could be that 1% then because I had an energy drink and I think it must have been 200 milligrams. So it's quite a high one, but I slept through. So weird. But is that just because maybe my body has adjusted to it, that it's become like a habit, or I am just lucky that I'm in that 1%? I'm guessing other people might not be able to.
Yeah, I think if you was regularly doing that and you was getting to sleep okay, I would say, you're probably in that 0.00001% of people that don't respond. They have a higher tolerance to caffeine and don't experience those effects. I would look at it and go, okay, well, what happened the day before? Was sleep good? Was it not? How tired were we? Because I know for me, if I've not had a good night's sleep, I know the next night's sleep's probably going to be good as well. So it's one of those multifaceted responses where it could be a number of things. You could be the non-responder, could just be one of the few special ones.
The lucky ones. And also this is maybe a conversation, isn't it, from another episode, but like there's a placebo effect of it, of really, do I need the caffeine? No, because there's lots of things that I know as from a speaker, how I can control my state. We do lots of things where we teach like presenters and speakers to get into parasympathetic nervous system, nasal breathing, diaphragmatic breathing. There are things that you can do to control your state, whereas the population is just hooked on this caffeine, right? So, okay, so great caffeine. Then I'm going to stop at a certain time, midday. That's where I'm going to stop now because I know we don't want that half-life to keep happening in my system. We know that obviously caffeine as well has a really bad impact with anxiety and mental health. So a lot of people hooked up on caffeine can lead to that. But also, what's the common links between a lack of sleep? And I know it probably sounds obvious here. I'm probably answering my own question here, but what's the common links here between mental health and a lack of sleep?
I mean, for me, it's think about your experience when you've had a lack of sleep. I know I personally feel less resilient. I feel more agitated. I personally feel more anxious. You're not as nice to be around. You can't deal with things the way that you would normally deal with things. The concentration, all of those things are functions of not just our physical capabilities, but our mental capabilities as well. So I would urge a lot of people to just think about how they're actually feeling when they wake up from a lack of sleep. You are increasing your risk of depression. You are increasing your risk of anxiety. You are less able to manage stress better. It's really, really impactful on our day-to-day lives, not just from a physical point of view, but also from a mental point of view as well. Yeah, for sure.
Brilliant. There's so many things in this interview that we're going to take away, and obviously for the listeners to do as well. Think about our bedtime routine. Think about the morning routine. So I'm going to open the curtains, get some sunlight. We go outside, stay off the phone for the first maybe hour or two, and start aligning better my body clock, circadian rhythm. The impacts you've already told us about, obviously, is going to reduce that impact of beta amyloid. We've got to start flushing that away. Some top tips as well about, cool rooms and maybe having a shower before to help kind of wash away from the day as well. Obviously, parents will be listening to this as well going, that's great, Ryan, but, we have kids, right? So I'm practicing this myself as well because I'm trying to be the best version of myself and, do whatever I can, the best I can. What would you say to, and you must get this, like elite athletes, performers, that parents, right? So there are things that we can do that are quite simple. So that there's things that I know from now, I can sort out my room. I can get rid of all the technology. You can do those set of things.
Yeah.
When you get like the child that has no circadian rhythm because they've not developed it yet, they are crying through the night and you've got that lack of sleep. What would be some simple tips for any parents listening that they can start doing to improve their sleep?
Yeah. I mean, you've got to look at it from what can I control, what can't I control. You can't do anything about your kid getting up at that time in the night and you having to respond to that. That is just part of being a parent. I get that. The one thing that we would always recommend is do what you can. And there's things that we've spoken about today, opening the curtains first thing in the morning, getting up at the same time, no matter how tired you are, setting your body clock. Because as soon as you change the time that you're getting up, you're confusing your body and it's going, when am I going to feel sleepy? When am I going to feel awake? So regardless of the sleep that you've had, maybe because your child's kept you up, get up at the same time. If you are still tired, the one thing that we recommend to all of our clients is have a nap. And it always gets pushback, but I don't believe that there is a person listening to this that cannot take even just 10 minutes where they close their eyes in the day to just have a little bit more rest. If you do that between 1 and 3 in the afternoon, that's most optimal. It's when you'll see the Spanish day, the siesta. That's when that still happens because there is that dip in energy and productivity for a lot of people. So that is the most optimal time to get that nap in so that you can offset the sleep you might not have had the night before. If you can't do that, 5 till 7, go for a 10-15 minute window. But you have to be careful there so that you still sleep the following night. So for a lot of the parents listening, being able to get up at the same time every single morning without fail and looking at that and going, that's when I'm going to get up regardless of the sleep I have or haven't had. Utilizing the nap, looking after yourself as well, because you can be way more resilient by looking after your nutrition. I know for me personally, when I've had 2 or 3 days where my sleep's not been great, I can still get through the day because of my health and because I look after myself, not just from a sleep point of view. So making sure you're focusing on a good quality diet, protein, fruits, vegetables, drinking plenty of water, doing some exercise as well. It doesn't need to be an hour and a half in the gym, 30 minutes of walking, 10 minutes of yoga in the morning, whatever fits your schedule and is realistic for you with all the rest of the responsibilities that you've got as well. And I think as well, just setting those boundaries, setting clear expectations, the amount of people that we work with, it's a limiting belief in a sense because they don't believe that they can make those things happen. And it's like, you're joking, aren't you? There's no way that I'd be allowed to go and do that because I've got to do that. And it's like, but you haven't had that conversation with your partner or with whatever to go, this is what I need to do because of how I'm feeling, because this is impacting here, and here. So at this point, I'm going to have a 10-15 minute nap and then you're going to have to look after the child or whatever. I think people doing that is really, really important to prioritize themselves because you can't pour from a half empty cup. You need to fill that up. And your sleep, your health, your exercise, your nutrition, how you manage your stress is so crucial to that.
It's cause and effect, isn't it? The people living at cause and effect here. As you just mentioned there, it's taking responsibility for this. Yes, the limitations that we have, we put on ourselves, but actually there are things we can do. So I'm thinking about that. I don't know, I jokingly said this, didn't I, at the gig when you were speaking, like, what about me? I'm a parent. But like joking aside, absolutely. I've got responsibility. I can nap, machine naps. I can still, instead of making the choice to go, I feel like shit today, I'm going to have a McDonald's because it's quick and easy. No, you know what? I'll take responsibility because I know the longer term of this isn't going to benefit me. Let's have some good stuff, fruits, veg, proteins. So it's about taking responsibility for that. So that's really great. So, Ryan, there's so many things. We'll wrap up this now because it's been a fascinating conversation and I'm going to go away and start improving my sleep. But lots of really valuable information here. What would be just one simple step that listeners or watchers of this podcast can take today to start improving their sleep?
There's 2 common things. The caffeine that we've spoken about, definitely get that on the go because if you're drinking too much in the day, that will have a profound impact. Setting a clear boundary when it comes to this is when I'm working and this is when I'm not working is really, really important. And when I say that, I mean coming off the phone. Because the phone is one of the things that we're all on all of the time. There's something now where it's like you check your phone 1,000 times a day. And it's like, if we're checking it that much, how is that impacting everything else? So being very intentional in this is when I'm working, this is when I'm not, and not being on the phone, the TV, the laptop, the night between 60 and 90 minutes before you plan to sleep so that you can have a good night's sleep. I would say that is something that I don't think we've touched on that is really, really important that you can do tonight, leave the phone out of the room, and it has a profound impact on the quality of that sleep as well.
Love that, mate. Thank you. Thanks for sharing this, mate. As I said, absolutely inspired from your talk and just the benefits of it, really, of what we need to start doing to be the best version of ourselves. If I want to carry on this journey of unlocking the best version of ourselves so I can be a better speaker, a better coach, a better presenter, then I need to work on that. Ryan, if people want to find out about you and Nick and your company's called Unstoppabl, but if they want to find out more about you, where can they go?
A couple of places I think are where we're most prevalent. If you go to our website, which is unstoppabl.com, and that is Unstoppabl without the E, you'll find so much content on there. We're pushing out so many blogs on there that will be very, very helpful for your listeners that want to be better. And also find us on LinkedIn, Ryan Snell, Snell, and Nick Johnston Davis. And we are putting a piece of content out there every single day that is, again, it's about health, it's about high performance, it's about being better and bringing your best into whatever that is and reaching your full potential. So those would be the 2 places I think you can get some more value from us.
I'd highly recommend your YouTube channel as well. I love your videos, especially the
for sure,
running. I was watching a lot of the recovery for running as well, so lots of good stuff about fitness as well. So Ryan, thank you so much for coming on the Unlock podcast, and best wishes to you, Nick, for a great year. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, Ricky. Thank you for having us.